Hello everyone, I'm Tracy Koga and welcome to Hue at Home. What if? Those two words played heavy on my mind and my husband's over the past weekend. He hadn't been feeling well for over a week, so he decided to go get a COVID test. He didn't have all of the symptoms, but he wanted to be safe and sure. So he went, got tested, came home, sat on the couch, and we thought, what if? So we went through where we had been, contact tracing, and we really realized that we had been so diligent. We followed all the guidelines and the rules, did as we were told, and above all, very careful. So what if? Fortunately, the results came back and the test was negative. There was like a weight was lifted off our shoulders instantly, but I still thought, there are people living their lives out there like there is no pandemic. COVID is a hoax. And I really, really want to say I would never wish this past weekend on anyone. It was stressful, full of anxiety, and I will say fear. So we are now in new lockdowns, new restrictions, which may anger some people, but it is for our own safety. It is for our safety to be also healthy and to be able to live a full and wonderful summer. So I'm hoping everybody is abiding by the rules. We sure are. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. But there are a lot of good stories, and we're going to have some on Hue at Home today, including this interview with a beautiful, young, talented singer-songwriter, Leanna Oki. She shares her story and how music has really helped her, not only through this pandemic, but through her life. And once again, through the beauty of virtual TV, we are going to the home of Leanna Oki in Thornhill, Ontario, under lockdown again, Leanna. But you know what? It is so good to meet you. And young lady, your voice is unbelievable. And let's get right into it. How did you get into music? And music wasn't, I guess, not always like in your life, so to speak.
Yeah, I've always loved music. I've loved singing and just listening to music from, as long as I can remember. But music became a very central part of my life at the beginning of my university, where I picked up the guitar. I wrote my first song, and from that point on, I just could not stop writing music, and it was just my way of expressing myself, and it just became my main passion from that point. But even before, I would always try to like sing in talent shows and just like sing all the time, pretty much. But I took it more seriously when I actually started writing my own music.
Do you remember? Well, obviously, you would remember your very first song. What was the story behind it?
So my first song is called Mayhem, and I wrote it after I was dealing with a bit of heartbreak from like my first official relationship in freshman year. And it's about kind of longing for someone to reciprocate their love for you. It's a more of a somber song, obviously, but I was really proud of myself because the moment I, learned the guitar, it just came so naturally. And I wrote this chord progression, and then I performed the song at my university. And I just gained a lot of confidence after that experience. And that just pushed me to keep writing and writing that year.
Well, and what is it now about music that you feel so passionately about, Leanna, now that you've grown more and written more songs?
Yeah, so I gain inspiration from all different sources. A lot of my songs are about feelings and just emotions that are difficult for me to kind of put into words, and just very personal experiences that are hard for me to kind of talk about to someone else. Um, some are related to just mental health related issues and relationship issues. I've been trying to write some more positive music recently, or just music that has more of a lighthearted, brighter feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of the main inspiration of my music. It's, as I call it, my form of therapy. So I like to talk about or sing about more personal topics.
Oh, well, and on a more personal note, there's not a lot of young Asian women in the music industry. And you know what? We don't know yet, but my guess is that you have a very bright future. You could be, or maybe right now you are considered a role model for other Asian women. Oh, what is it, Leanna? Why is it so hard? And why aren't there more women of color, coming forth in the music world?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I feel like for a long time in the entertainment and music industry, it's been, dominated by more Western, like, people that, are, not from a minority group. And I think just because it's been like that for so long, there's less space for us and other minorities to kind of shine through. And I don't know. I mean, like I do know some other Asian artists that are trying and working on music and trying to put it out, but I think it's just how the industry has been for so long, and maybe us as a culture are more reserved and less, um, I guess, confident to put out our work, even when we feel proud of it. So I
Oh.
hope that changes in the near future.
Well, I hope so too. And I think one of the ways to do that is just to pump out and keep your music out there and relevant, right? And not be afraid. Your current song, Sync, is beautiful. Is there a story behind that one?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most vulnerable song I've ever written, because I wrote it during a very difficult time in my life where I felt very isolated and just alone in my thoughts, and I didn't understand really how to make sense of it. And I thought, like, the only way I can get these emotions out or just feel relief is to write a song about it. And I thought that the metaphor of sinking into the sea was a very good representation kind of how I was feeling, because when you're underwater, you're voiceless and you feel trapped and kind of helpless. So that's how I was feeling in that time in my life.
Well,
But yeah.
hopefully you're not now. And
Mhm.
and I guess too, it's this COVID pandemic isolation obviously has given you a lot of chance to write and to create more music. But for you personally, Leanna, how has it been? You're a young person, energetic, vibrant, university student, and now your world has just become so closed, right?
Mhm.
How have you coped?
Yeah, it's been quite tough, to be honest. I am more of a social person, and I love going to the city downtown and just kind of walking around and just being around, high energy. And so at first, I felt very motivated to just make the most out of all this free time I had, and I was kind of excited actually just to focus on myself. But it's been so long; it's been over a year that we've been dealing with this, so it's definitely become more challenging over the recent months, and feeling very restless and just like less hope that things are going to get better faster. But we try to keep positive, and I've got a great group of family and friends around me that are there for me. So I'm very grateful for that. But
Aw. Well, and I guess for you if you want to give any words of advice to any young woman that wants to enter the music world? What is something that you've learned that you would pass on?
That's a great question. Yeah, I would say if it's something you love, you genuinely love and are passionate about, do it, like, no question, because we only have one life as far as we know. And what's the point in ignoring something that you truly love to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know there's all this outside noise and all these other things that run through one's mind when they put out work to the public. Like, how many people are going to like it, or how successful am I going to be? But at the end of the day, it should be about what you love to do, and why are you doing it? If you love music and it's something that keeps you happy and looking forward to life, it's totally worth it. And then everything else comes after. So
Success and everything. Well, it has been so wonderful to meet you, and I know that you're going to leave us with a little treat, an acoustic.
yes, I'm gonna try. I actually have my electric guitar today just to create a more rich sound. But yeah, I'm gonna do a performance of Sync for
Per-
you. And thank you so much, Tracy, for having me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Here she is, Leanna with Sync.
How did I get so desperate to fall right into the abyss? I left my mind by that shoreline, so don't look behind. I'll fall back into deep blue waves that will wash me away. I'll look up at the sun and watch myself fade. So let me feel enough so I know why I get so caught up, because I need more than a rush to carry me into the sea. Just breathe until it's tough, but all this air is way too rough to fuel the craziness I love. So let me sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. I watch the water flow, giving me embryo, but I wish you'd let me go. 'Cause I'm either numb or I feel too much, overwhelmed now that I've succumbed. All the sun required love, give me one sign from up above, and let me feel enough so I know why I get so caught up, because I need more than a rush to carry me into the sea. Just breathe until it's tough, but all this air is way too rough to fuel the craziness I love. So let me sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. I'm on the edge of a cliff or upon a balcony. Whichever way you envision will be the enemy. I'm on the edge of a cliff or upon a balcony. Whichever way you envision will be the end of me. Oh, I'm falling now. Can anyone hear me now? Ooh, oh, oh, oh. Just let me feel enough. I'm sinking. Let me feel enough. I'm drowning. Let me feel enough. I'm sinking. Let me feel enough. I'm drowning.
Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up. I'm digging you. I'm feeling you. Girl, you know what's up. Say I'm digging you. And I'm wanting you. So tell me what's up. Tell me what's up. Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up.
Welcome back to Hue at Home. We'll have another great clip from our conversation, the Hue virtual chat. This week we talked about whether it's okay to let things slide sometimes, not be so quick and stressed out to answer to everything. Let it marinate. So there's some interesting ideas that come out in that conversation. But first, I've waited 10 years to do this. So now I put my hands in my expert Kim, and we transform my former brows into something quite magnificent. You have convinced me
to do this finally.
to do this finally. I have now officially ditched my eyebrow pencil, everybody. Threw it in the garbage before I came here. It was a little bit daunting, a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me exactly what you're going to be doing today.
Okay, so right now you've been numbing, and for about 30 minutes now. That's to make sure that you don't feel any of the procedure or any discomfort during the procedure. We're going to take all that off, and then we're going to map you. We use a method called string mapping. So it's a scored thread that we make a whole bunch of lines to create symmetry on your brows.
Whoa.
And then after that, I show you in a mirror what it looks like, the outline of the brows that we're going to be doing. And then after that, we start with the procedure.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay, come lay down. The procedure itself doesn't take very long, but you are getting a combination brow, which is microblading, which is a manual way of implanting hair-like strokes into the skin, and then a mix of shading to give that powdered look.
Oh, wow. Very nice. Oh my goodness. over the weekend, long story short, my husband hadn't been feeling well for a little over the week. He decided that he was going to go get a COVID test just to be safe and sure. But it was that time, like when he was going to get the test, when he came home, and then we sat there, and it was all this what if, what if, what if. And the stress and anxiety in those 24 hours before we found out that he was negative, I cannot describe. And, and it kind of has a lingering fact. Here, it's a test negative, and yay, a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. Yeah. And then I want to introduce everybody to Geraldine. Hello, Linda. So good to see you.
Hi.
It's kind of and sort of like the topic that I kind of want to talk about. Geraldine emailed me back and apologized, saying sorry or whatever last week. I just wanted to let things marinate. I just wasn't myself and everything like that. And I've seen posts where people they now literally say, sorry, either, mentally I'm just not there, or, I just kind of let things slide. So are you seeing more of this, Robin, now? I mean, or is it just becoming more of a common thing with everybody? I thank God today was sunny, because I don't know, I think I would have gone ballistic if I woke up to another gray, cold, cloudy day, and let alone have snow falling.
Look, I think the accumulation has an impact on people. I think when this is my personal view, right? So that's about what it's worth. That's the scientific evidence, me thinking what I think. I think when this all started, people were like, oh, a couple of months will be good. And then, we were like hanging in there. And then Manitoba, we hit the big restrictions because things were going crazy, and everyone was like, well, I can dig it in here. I'm not doing great, but I can dig it in. I can see like the end. We'll just hang in there. And people weren't feeling great. I'm with you. I had the app tell me a few months ago, in the middle of that second wave, you've hung out with someone. And I'm like, I haven't been anywhere. What the hell?
No,
Been
yeah.
at the grocery store. I stood in line. Did the person behind me stand too close? And that was, I think it was 2 days before Christmas. I was completely freaked because, predominantly with my heart condition, I'm dead. And I was like, oh. And I think people are talking about it more because lots of people are struggling with the ongoingness of this, right? And yes, we see vaccination, but then we hit this and we're like, who's the numbnuts hanging? This is me. Who's the idiots hanging out together? Who are those numbnuts? Like, why can't they just stop it? And then I'm like, okay, people are doing what they're doing to get through a tough situation. And I have to remember that. And I have to have compassion that, people may have different views on me. And I think it's the fatigue of something going on and on and on. And people are more prepared to talk about it because more people are saying, I'm not okay. And I'm not having a great time and I need a break. Like, truth be told, I'm going to share, on Sunday, I curled up on the couch and I was hysterical all day. Because I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever see my mum again, right? My mum's 85 this year. Will I ever see her again? Will I ever get to touch the ground of my country again? And I built a life where I traveled. I traveled between 6 and 9 months a year for the last 20 years. And all of a sudden, February 26th last year, it was like, and I got my energy from traveling and hiding in a hotel, but like traveling and seeing people, and my friends are across the world, and I created this world where I would go and see them once every year or two. I have no idea when I'm going to see my close friends again. I've moved to Winnipeg. I spent so much time working on my business. I didn't create close friends here. I didn't create a network, and the other day it completely overwhelmed me. And I was like, the person I'm dating called me, and I was just sobbing. And I was like, I work in mental health. Why can't I deal with this? What am I? And she said, like, you have created this life of movement, and it stopped in a heartbeat. And maybe if you allow yourself to feel like that, you'll feel a bit better. And I did, right? And I it's still lingering there, but I think the more we talk about it, the more we hear that other people are struggling too, and being with each other and bearing witness and hearing each other out is the place that will hopefully get us all through this.
Hi everybody. I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you, Tracy, for responding so swiftly to my email to you yesterday. And I wasn't expecting to be here today, but I'm really pleased. So I'm an executive coach, and I have my own practice, and I see clients one-on-one, predominantly women. I am also a coach with a woman in the States who was my mentor and my coach, and she runs a program called Great Big Journey. Her name is Steph Jagger, and I work with her on that program. And I'm launching a couple of other programs, which I might tell you about later, and one that caught your eye, Tracy, called In the Clearing, Creating Space for Women's Intuition. So, but it's so interesting, Robin, you pretty much nailed everything that could be said about the state of how we're all feeling these days, right? And the notion of self-care and stepping back. And I think that was a post I made recently, Tracy, which caught your eye. And it's, I think, even more than allowing ourselves permission self-care, it's not allowing self-abandonment, not to give over of ourselves when there's no gas in the tank, and to know what those things are that replenish us and refuel us. And there's so much energy movement happening in the world, so much polarity, and that creates all kinds of reactions and emotions and intensities and whatnot all. And we're so polarized about everything. And I think we won't know, as you know, what Robin was talking about earlier, I don't think we're going to know the impact of this time for each of us until sometime down the road when, you know, we can see things 2020. So the importance and the value of what I coach with clients about is, can you slow down? What if you just slowed down, moved slower, moved more quietly, dropped some things off the plate? You know, to borrow a well-said phrase from Glennon Doyle's book, Untamed, be prepared to disappoint as many people as it takes so that you don't disappoint yourself. And I think, you know, for some of us, for women especially, maybe not, I'm not sure, but there's this mentality that we can't disappoint, that somehow that's wrong to disappoint other people, that you're here to live up to everyone's expectations of you. And I think that's a messed up message. And I think that's one we can afford to shed, you know?
Welcome back. I really do want to give a big thank you to Kim at iCandy Lash for my eyebrows. Ladies, I totally recommend it. And there is a sense of freedom when you can throw away the eyebrow pencil. Coming up though, Hue Productions is so proud to be part of Healing Hearts, It's in partnership with Immigration Partnership Winnipeg and Knowledge Keeper Clayton Sandy. On our last show, we met a beautiful woman, Destiny Seymour, and she shares her own personal story about her business, Indigo Arrows.
Yes, Tracy, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here and hear about the other businesses. And yes, this past year has been so tough. So my name is Destiny Seymour. I'm an interior designer. I'm from Winnipeg. My family is from Peguis First Nation, and I grew up here in Winnipeg. I worked in an architecture firm for over 10 years, loved it, loved my coworkers. But the thing that I guess for me when I was working, I wanted to put fabrics and textiles and just products that showcased Manitoba's history. So Indigenous people from Manitoba. And how I started kind of looking back and trying to figure out how to do that was when I was visiting the Manitoba Museum. A friend of mine works there. He's an archaeologist there, and he was showing me some of the pottery pieces. And Manitoba, actually, southern Manitoba has a very rich ceramics history. So we're talking like over 3,000, like thousands of years of pots, cooking pots and food storage pots, like for corn and squash, and they have amazing patterns that are stamped at the top of the pot. And these patterns change, and over the years, like, for 1,000 years, there'll be this type of pattern, and another 1,000 years, this type of pattern. And they're trying to figure out the stories behind them and the teachings behind them. But what really struck me was that I never really knew about these patterns or this history, and this history that actually, like, where my ancestors are from. And so that's what sort of like was the starting point for me. But I'm an interior designer, and architecture is mainly you're at the computer all day long. It's not making fabrics and things like that. So I had to learn how to create these fabrics. So I started taking silk screen classes at Martha Street Studio in the evenings. I have a very supportive partner. My husband, he was like, yeah, go for it, do it. We had 2 little girls. So yeah, it was awesome. Like a couple nights a week, I would go and learn how to print. So it took a couple of years of making prototypes, sourcing fabric, all that kind of stuff. And in 2016, I quit my day job. I still work very closely with the architecture firm that I was with. So I became a consultant, a design consultant, and at the same time started developing I guess a home goods brand. So looking at creating table linens, so tea towels, napkins, table runners, pillows, and reviving these patterns that are thousands of years old. Wow. And so I didn't know that one day I'd be a tea towel maker, but I did. I became a tea towel maker, and I love it. And so here's a picture of one of the napkins. This pattern here is over 400 years old. It's from an elk antler bone scraper tool. So the tool is about that long, and all of the patterning was carved around this tool and uncovered in one of the archaeological digs, and it's at the museum now. And this pattern here these are the pottery patterns. Those would be stamped around the rim of the pot. And so what I do is I don't do an exact replica of the pattern. It's inspired by the pattern, and then I kind of create, my patterns are very minimal. So everything's on linen. And so this pattern here is over 3,000 years old. And this is actually directly from where my family is from, the land where my family is. And this here is a table runner. And it's the same pattern. So all the patterns are also named in Anishinaabe. And so it's reviving language. This pattern is called Niswe. All the patterns, my dad helped me name the patterns, and they're actually quite simple. The first one you saw there was called Beijig. Beijig means one, in Anishinaabe. So this was the first pattern I started sketching and designing and and creating. So these fabrics are now, I get them printed on large rolls so that I can get color. So this is full color on linen. It's a Canadian company in Ontario. So I guess I can kind of talk about a little bit about when COVID happened, like
Yeah.
all the shipments shut down for me. I used to do pop-ups at the local markets, and that's kind of where I would ramp up for like the spring market, summer markets, and then of course fall was my really busy time. And so yeah, the shipments just stopped. And I thought, okay, well, I was still doing architecture, so I have all my products or my projects, but the pop-ups ended, of course. And then the fabric, but what happened was really crazy is because everyone was home, my sales went up, but I had no stock. So yeah, that was a little tough. And so trying to figure out, also Martha Street Studio, where I was printing fabrics, because I still hand print. This is like one of the pieces that I use to create screens. But Martha Street Studio closed down. They weren't open to the public or even renters. And so I had to change things here in our home. I'm in the basement right now, and my husband helped me set up sort of a home studio. So I was printing at home once the fabrics would come in. So yeah, it was just very, very different. But yeah, my whole, I guess, Indigo Arrows is all about, this is the studio. But one thing that I guess the positive thing, my 10-year-old daughter took this photo.
Oh.
She got into photography. We were spending more time together because we took them out of school. So she started taking photos and just being with me. Yeah. And so the whole reason I started Indigo Arrows too was it was really tough every Sunday evening, knowing I had to get back to work and, just not having a flexible job and in case I had to be home with them. So yeah, they kind of inspired my whole business. And so now to have her be involved in, yeah. My other one is like, I don't want anything to do with it.
Well, you know what? Yeah, at least you have one of them. Oh no, it's like, what a beautiful story. And just a way too, I can't imagine, I mean, when your father is helping you name these and what it means not only to you but to them. And then when you hold a napkin or you place your table runner on your table, I think definitely you must feel like a different connection, right? On a different level. Like it's not just something very special.
Yeah, my parents, they're survivors of residential school. So, for them growing up, not being able to speak their language, the family connections, not being able to talk to their brothers or sisters. So all those kinds of things, and just going home once a year. So yeah, having my dad involved, he's still really involved. He just like having fun with him, like naming the patterns. The only thing is I can't have him at pop-ups because he gets really mad if people don't buy anything. So you'll see this little guy that like just mad at, yeah. So he's not allowed to come to pop-ups anymore. But yeah, so it's quite, yeah, my parents are really happy. Also, like we have the patterns all over the house. When I was in architecture, I really couldn't find Indigenous, like Canadian Indigenous design or designers that were also in magazines or books, things like that. So I've been very fortunate over these last, like these 4 years that I've been in business, that I've been in magazines. And so I show my daughters and I'm like, look at this. This is what, so they're not that impressed. They actually barely even glance at it. But I think later they'll appreciate it.
Yes, very, and that's going to be coming soon, so soon.
But see yourself, like to see yourself in a space or your culture, to see the beauty of it. And I think that's like what drives me and what pushes me to keep going even though I don't feel like printing some days, or you know, so now it's kind of growing where I can hire people to help print.
We want to give a big special thank you to all of our guests on today's show and leave you with this question. What is the one thing that you will do as soon as restrictions and lockdowns are through? We really want to know, so send us an email to hello@ilikehue.com or message us on Facebook and Instagram at iLikeHue. Now we're going to leave you with the beautiful music video Sync by Leanna Oki. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you next time on Hue at Home.
How did I get so desperate to fall right into the abyss? I left my mind by that shoreline, so don't look behind, 'cause I'll fall back into deep blue waves that will wash me away. I look up at the sun and watch myself fade. So let me feel enough, so I know why I get so caught up, because I need more than a rush to carry me into the sea. Just breathe until it's tough, but all this air is way too rough to fuel the craziness I love. So let me sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. I watch the water flow, giving me antidote, but I wish you'd let me go. 'Cause I'm either numb or I feel too much, overwhelmed now that I've succumbed to all this unrequited love. Give me one sign from up above, and let me feel enough, so I know why I get so caught up, because I need more than a rush to carry me into the sea. Just breathe until it's tough, but all this air is way too rough to fuel the craziness I love. So let me sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. I'm on the edge of a cliff or upon a balcony. Whichever way you envision will be the enemy. I'm on the edge of a cliff or upon a balcony. Whichever way you